Let's dive down the rabbit hole of the area of finance, which I was super interested in as a undergrad and a graduate student. I never really got into the weeds in it too much. And this is going to be behavioral finance. So behavioral finance, so give an example of this at a bank. We use what's called a behavioral scorecard. So for example, like a consumer misses a payment, and then we need to contact that consumer and be like, hey, did you just forget to make the payment? Do you not have the money? Is it going to be like 3 days late, a week late? Are you just flipping us the bird and saying you don't want to pay us back? Like trying to figure out what's the deal here. And so the behavior that we were actually trying to model is like, if we change the number of times that we call a consumer or how we contact them, like for example, I respond typically better to text than I do to calls. I ignore almost every phone call that comes through. Doesn't matter who you are. So phone calls, text, email, like how do we change the collection strategy to get better results or that consumer behavior from them, right? So I want them to pay us back for that loan. I don't want to have to go repo the car. And so it's a consumer behavior scorecard, and like, how do we determine who's going to respond best to what sorts of inputs here? So there are laws and regulations luckily around this as well. So again, baking the ethics in here, like I shouldn't be calling you like 5-6 times a day and harassing you. Like this is an issue. But you should be able to rightfully call and say, hey, like you missed a payment and we need to figure this out. Now, if you call like once every month, like that's probably not going to be enough. If you call maybe once a week, that's probably a good medium. But again, how do you model that, and do different consumers respond differently to different sorts of things? Calls, texts, emails, like how do we go about that process and that approach? It's just modeling consumer behavior. Social media data, though, provides us very rich data source to explore and to look through and to process. One of the ways to keep this as ethical as possible is just removing all sorts of what's called like personal identifiable information, PII, because I don't need to know your name. There are things like we should just agree on up front, like we should just exclude. Like these are not important. They should not be used in finance at all. But there are use cases where you could go through and figure out how do we use social media data and what sorts of people are even on platforms. So I don't know if you guys think about this, but like the people that are on X, formerly Twitter, those are different people that are going to be on like Instagram, which are going to be different people that are on like Facebook, which are different people that are on, I don't know, some other sort of platform like TikTok and all these sorts of things. And looking at your behavior, you might be able to figure out things in finance that we might want to know and model. So again, consumer behavior scorecards is one. Another one might just be spending habits. So like getting into marketing, like marketing and psychology and finance and putting it together. How do we determine who's going to buy what sorts of products, what's going to be trendy, and then how do we adjust our investment decisions for that holiday season? So let's say there's like a traditional brand like Barbie or Hot Wheels or something, and it's been outdated and no one's buying it. And then all of a sudden there's this new trend, this new advertising and marketing coming out, right? I need to know like, how's that going to impact the stock price of Mattel or whoever owns that company that's going to be making these products? And how do we adjust our investment decisions and processes? And how do we allocate our investments to better utilize, our investment strategy and our consumers or, clients' money or whatnot? And so using this sort of data, I think is going to actually be the next big wave that's going to be used for that. Now, how do you get this down into numerical and data format? That is a lot of the challenge within itself. And it's one of the big challenges also with just AI. And AI has been great at like mining and processing lots of stuff. But the question is not if we have a lot of stuff. This question is it usable stuff and is it valuable? And so being able to get that into a tabular format is going to be one of the big challenges. Again, the tech companies do track in a lot of this data. Like, you could easily pull things like numeric, like how many times you post a day, a week, what sort of engagement do you get, those sorts of things. But you could also look at like how often you click on ads, what type of ads do you click on, understanding even the models that the tech companies are using to target different sorts of consumers. So the models that, for example, Facebook is using or Meta is different than the ones that are going to be used on, for example, like Twitter. Again, different types of people, different types of marketing, how they're targeting them. All these sorts of things could potentially drive financial impacts to companies and firms and manufacturing and jobs. And like, there's a lot of impact on the social media front here. So I think this is going to be the next big wave in alt data. I don't know how it's going to be used, how it's going to be processed. Again, I think this needs to be more of a open discussion with regulators, with investment funds, with the public as well, trying to get feedback on how data can and can't be used. I know people don't want to hear that, but I think that's the route to go. But I do think this is going to be a great source of alpha on the investing side. I think it's going to be a great source of consumer service, just providing better service. Like banks can provide better products and better services to their customers. And we already do a lot of this, like trying to find people that would match our products like credit cards and mortgage and all that sort of thing and refinancing. But in general, I think that's going to be the next big wave. I think we should see more discussion around that, but I haven't seen a lot of it. So anyways, if you guys have articles, insights, thoughts, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.